Holy. Gonna do just one more audio test. All right. Now, what is going on, everybody? My name is Nick, also known as Cruiser Media. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're gonna be doing something a little bit different. I've never done anything like this before, on camera at least, but it's time. It's time to do something like this. So welcome to today's video. Today's video is gonna be something different, something that has yet to be done on the channel. So I hope that you guys do enjoy. Before we jump into the video though, I do want to say thank you all for breaching 550 subscribers. The channel's kind of been boosting up a little bit lately, and it's cool to see. Secondly, I just want to preface this by saying all the comments or all the questions came from Instagram, and I'm just going to be going through them and answering them in as much detail as possible. I think I released this about 2 hours ago. No. More like four-ish hours ago. I released this question and answer kind of deal. So I haven't checked them in quite a couple hours. So I've probably got a few that are needing a few more than I imagined. But here we are. So let's jump into the video. So I do have some from my previous Q&A session on Instagram that I'm going to be answering up here on the iPad, and I've also got some more here. So we are going to be, oh my god, there's a lot. Anyways, we have Zach with a great question. First, to kick it off this episode, we're starting with Zach. These are, again, the old ones that I asked a few days ago here. So if I get a camera for Christmas, what should be the things that I change on the camera? Now, although this is a great question, there's a few different things here. Firstly, it depends on what camera you get. The first thing I would do is change to RAW. Obviously, you need to be shooting in RAW because your standard is just going to be JPEG. And then I would also set 2 different picture profiles for video. The A7, I have 2 different picture profiles on the little dial. So you have manual mode, 1 and 2. And I have all of my buttons mapped out kind of differently, and it just helps kind of streamline everything. Like, I can switch from 1080p video, 60 FPS to 4K just with the turn of a dial, and it's great. I also have different buttons mapped. So instead of the standard record button on my Sony, I have that mapped to a different button. And I just have plenty things that I guess you could change. It's a good question, but it's too broad in a sense. Depending on what camera it is, the answer varies. So if you're Canon, you definitely just want to change from JPEG to RAW format when you're shooting pictures. And that's pretty much it as far as I can remember coming from the camera platform. TTEO Productions asks, how can I keep improving my work when I don't know what else to improve? I think it's a pretty common thing with photographers and videographers alike. We always feel like we could improve, but then you also get into this rut of, well, I feel like I'm at the top, so what else can I do to continue improving even though I've reached this certain level and now I don't know how to improve? And I've definitely been in a sort of headspace like that, in a sense. And my thing was switch it up. Like, instead of just staying stagnant and continually, and I still practice this today actually, but instead of just staying stagnant and doing like your same old thing, same old routine, same old editing, break out of the norm and challenge yourself with different locations. Maybe a challenging location such as like a side road, and see if you can make that look good with your subject, or dive deeper into color grading and see if you can really master color grading, but don't make it, super basic. Like, go out of your norm, go out of your comfort zone and start to challenge yourself. And a way that I've been practicing this recently is shooting at night. And it's challenged me in a way that I'm like, wow, I'm not very good at this. So how can I improve on it? And so I've been scheduling shoots out later at night as opposed to earlier in the day, just to keep me on my toes and start to improve a new aspect of photography that I've never really touched before, if that makes sense. Chase PV asks, what shutter speed do you use for rollers and what camera do you have? As a general baseline for rollers, when I was first, probably the first few years that I was shooting, I would go my shutter speed would be half the speed that we're traveling in the car. So for example, if we're going 45 miles an hour, I would try to keep my shutter speed as close to half of that as possible. So 1/20, 1/25. And then as I became more confident with my rollers and really took the time to practice them, I would just dropped it lower and lower. And now my shutter speed range kind of goes from 1/6 to 1/15, but generally I'll stick in the 1/10 or 1/10 range. Even when we're going on the highway, if we're going like 70 miles or more, I probably stick around like 1/20th, 1/25th, and that's how I get the super crazy motion blur. But with the lower shutter speed, obviously you're going to have more chance of shake, and I probably shoot around 700 rollers per session, per roller session, and I walk away with like 5 good ones that are actually like usable. So yeah, but that's just general rule of thumb. Like go half of what your car is traveling, or drop it a little lower if you want to continue improving. Landon L.2._N asks, favorite photo project that I've done. Now I did answer this on Instagram, and I can't really remember what I said, but my favorite, I can't necessarily point out a favorite because every new shoot ends up being one of my favorites because I'm always trying to go out of the norm and do something different. So as of recently, my favorite shoot has been the RS6 and the M4 video photo shoot. That was a great one. That was super challenging. I'm actually currently still working on the photos. Maybe not by the time this video comes out, but I'm still working on them at the time of recording. But I've done quite a few that are pretty up there. But in terms of like challenge and content wise, I would say that those two are probably way up at the top of the list. Zane Levens asks, should broke photographers build shitty ass cars and then complain about being broke? Now this is a question of culture, and I would have to say yes. AB Photo asks, why do you like boys? I don't know, Alex. Why don't you take a look in the mirror and ask yourself that? Chase PV, this is a new question. He asks, how long do your photo shoots take? Generally, my photo shoots are in between, I would say like 2 to 4 hours, depending on how many spots we hit, rollers, etc. Aaron Wade, RS Avant, says, ignore if already asked, but favorite part of your entire process. But I would probably have to say actually shooting the cars has to be my favorite part of the overall process of this type of work. I think that the photo and the video shoots are hands down my favorite part of doing shoots necessarily. I mean, I also enjoy the editing, but sometimes the editing is also a pain in the ass. Generally, when I'm out shooting, it's all good vibes, meeting new people, seeing cool cars, and you just get to, you get to be creative and you get to work different angles, you get to work with different subjects, different cars, and then you get home later and you look at all of the pictures and you hate your life. I think that shooting the cars would have to be my favorite part of the overall process, just because you're working in different locations, you're doing different things, different cars, meeting new people. Yeah, I think that would be the favorite part of the process. Good question. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron, for that question. I'm looking forward to when you come back to Colorado next year, because we're gonna cook up some good stuff. So Hobbler Blix asks, what mistake do you see a lot of people doing? Now, this is a great question, and I'm actually planning a video out as we speak here in my notes. I'm planning a video kind of centered around this topic, so I'm going to go obviously deeper into that. But for a surface level, a lot of the mistakes that I see people doing, especially new photographers who get into this side of photography, the car photography scene, is they have way too big of an ego and they think that they are way better than they actually are. That's pretty much all I'm going to say on that topic for now. But keep a lookout for a new video. Speedstars Media, we have a good friend here, Logan, with a great question. Since you were a photographer initially, how has the shift to video been for you? Now, this is a This is a good question. I really like questions like these. So next time we do one of these, keep them coming like this. The biggest challenge in video is probably the production process before actually filming the video, because that's kind of the easy part in a sense. I mean, they both go hand in hand, but the pre-production part of making a video is probably the most time consuming and hardest, second to actually filming it, which I'll touch on a little bit after I get this point. But planning locations, planning shots, writing down a shot list, getting a theme set around the video, having a mood set around the video, those factors have to all work together, and it's very difficult. It's been very difficult for me to kind of zone in on that kind of skill, and it's rough. It's rough. Just the pre-production in and of itself has been a humongous shift, because photo shoot, you're like, okay, cool, we're gonna hit this location, this location, this location, and we're gonna do rollers on this road. Easy peasy, done and done. You can kind of move through it. But when it comes to video, you think of a theme that goes around the subject, and you're like, okay, well, where can we shoot this? Let's shoot it at this location. Oh no, we can't do that because this doesn't quite fit the theme. This location is going to be the XYZ. So you're constantly thinking of, what encompasses the entire vision for the project. And that's the hardest part, is just having that initial vision. And then of course, following that vision in the field is also very, very difficult for me. And I'm not even gonna lie, most of my video shoots have been an absolute disaster. If there's a theme around it, it never goes to plan. And it's something that I'm still actively working on. Even this last video, it might look like it was all pretty good, but the way that video was laid out was not at all how it was supposed to turn out. Firstly, 50% of my footage was unusable. A couple factors into that. I'm not going to go into super detail with this, but a lot of the footage wasn't usable. And then the way that I had it planned out in my head didn't go to plan, because this spot wasn't available. This road was closed down. There were too many people on the road during this time when we were supposed to follow this schedule. And if something in the schedule gets mixed up, it's just like my brain stops working. So those two aspects of video have been easily the hardest to transition into, apart from, of course, like learning color grading, taking a deeper dive into actually editing videos. Those two aspects are just the hardest to get down, coming from photo going to video. Dallas asks, dream truck. Probably a Raptor R, I would have to say. I don't need anything crazy, like an F350 or an F450 dually. So probably a Raptor R or a TRX. One of those two. Basic trucks, but I love them. Shutter Speedsters asks, best car you've shot / coolest photo shoot. The best car that I've shot so far would probably have to be Joe's Ford GT Heritage. This was a set that we did a while ago, but I think that's one of my favorite, hands down favorite cars that I've ever shot. That car holds so much nostalgia to me. I grew up playing, my first video game that I ended up playing, I think, was like Ford Racing 3, and the final car was the Ford GT. And ever since then, I've loved it. And that car was also featured in Need for Speed Carbon, and Need for Speed Carbon was a huge part of my childhood. And so the Ford GT has kind of been like my all-time favorite car, and to have the opportunity to shoot one has just, I love it. I love that photo shoot, and I love that car to death. Great question. Oh, coolest photo shoot. The one that I just did. The one with the RS6 and the M4. Coolest photo shoot I've ever done. Steph X West asks, what focal length do you use and your favorite? Primarily, I use my 35mm 1.4 lens, and I think that's my favorite. I also have a 24-105. Believe it or not, I only have the two lenses, and they do everything that I need them to do. Obviously, I'm planning on getting more a little bit down the road, but for now, those two cover it. And my 35 is hands down my favorite lens that I've ever purchased. And I use that for 80% of everything that I do. Logan Jacobs, Bankrupt Media, asks, have your rashes gone away yet? No, they haven't. He also asks, how many toes have you sucked in the past year? What the fuck kind of question is this? Tristan F. Photography, Tristan Fullerton asks, what is your method for making your car connections? You know, that's something that I've never actually thought about. Wow, really good question. I never really thought about how I began meeting people in the scene. When I first started, I was taking photos of stance cars for free when I was first starting out. And that kind of got me into the scene because I was starting brand new. I knew nobody. I guess I kind of had a little bit of an idea of the scene. Back when I was in high school, I would go to meets all the time with my buddies, but I never really connected with anybody. Then when I started doing photos and growing on Instagram, even though the growth was very slow, I would reach out to people and shoot their cars, and it's kind of just compounded since then. I started getting invites to events, and I started shooting events. I would send people photos over Instagram of their car that I shot at an event. And I think that's really kind of what started it. And then as the followers went up over the years, I kind of gained a little more confidence, and that brought me from the stance car scene into just a totally new world of supercars. And so I guess just maintaining relationships and building relationships and not letting the good people that you meet kind of fizzle off, always keep in connection with people. I think that has also improved because then they recognize you as a friend and as well as a service provider. And so you'll get invites to these specific events and you'll meet different people through them, or, you go out and, you go grab, dinner or something, and, you meet, it compounds. You meet one person, stay in connection with them, and then you're bound to just continue meeting new people, friends of friends, friends and friends and friends and friends. And it goes on forever. So I think that's really how I got started. I kind of just got a boost in confidence and began meeting new people. Yeah, great question, Tristan. Thank you. AB Photo asks, you going to be making fun of me again? No, not yet, unfortunately. I don't have time in the video to be making fun of you. We are actually at the final question now from Josh Klein. This is the owner of Peaked. Shout out to Peaked for the merch and being generally cool guys. But Josh Klein asks, what sparked your passion to pursue automotive photography? Need for Speed, Forza, cool cars. Really just the passion for cars kind of sparked photography, but I've always kind of enjoyed taking photos. And when I got farther into high school, I took a photography class, which did absolutely shit for me. But I took a photography class and I got to use different kinds of cameras, and that really boosted it more so. I already had an interest because I was going out and shooting pictures of my friend's car with my phone or my dad's Galaxy camera, and it just compounded from there. But I think really